film. And this is the name of all the people my father's on. And he's going to tell a little story about how that came about. He's going to film it and then put it in the film of this reunion. So if everybody just listen to Ziggy, we will do that. Okay, go Ziggy. Okay, Ziggy.
Get me out of it.
No, the Sim Sisters.
I'm on.
Yeah, you're on.
The Kingdom Sisters. They need to be side by side. All right. Who today or in the past or whatever, who saw this doggone monument? Everybody basically saw the monument? Okay. Just to give you a historical background on what happened, and some of you already know this, and I'm going to regurgitate it again so everybody, la-di-da-di, can understand. Okay, Al Fiore. Does anybody know Al Fiore?
Yeah. Yes.
Basically, he's an asshole that doesn't come to our things.
Alexander, but he's a nice guy.
His father, retired sergeant major, was putting these plaques, like one near the commissary, one near the PX, and they were falling apart. He was trying to. First of all, they were paper stuck on this plaque in remembrance of the folks that passed away from Camp Darby. And I said, Al, this is bullshit. We need something a little bit more professional. And he looked back at me and he said, Steve, well, what the hell are you doing about it? You're in command. And I thought about it for a little while, and I said, well, maybe he's right. So, I started thinking about this thing, and I started thinking about our parents. And I started thinking about the folks that were here before us. And likewise, if they weren't there, then obviously we wouldn't be here, right? That was kind of item number one. Item number two was, what can we do to have a sense of memory for these people? Instead of Al Fiore's wooden plaque with these paper things stuck on it. And then thirdly, I said, Vicenza, watch this. Hey! They didn't have a monument, right? So I figured, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? Who's going to finance it? Who's going to fund it? Who's going to authorize it? Well, that's me. So I designed this thing, and I went to Pietrasanta, which is right down the corner. And I said, hey guys, I would like you to make this for us. So I picked out the specific granite and or marble, and I told them that I would like the name tapes associated this way and that way. And another historical thing, when you looked at the name tapes on the monument, they're arranged from left to right in descending order. And there's a reason behind that. Well, if you notice up at the top left-hand corner, the first one is my dad. Well, my dad died in 1968, and he was the first one of the bunch to die. So Al Fiore produced another laundry list of telling me that, this guy, that guy, this guy, in succession. So, we have the Fermanis, we have the Cavellis, we have the Runoviches, the whole 9 yards, in sequential of how they, or when they died. So I arranged that as well. So the monument was made, the monument was picked up at Pietrasanta and brought to Camp Darby, and it was cemented where it is today. Likewise, another historical point is there's a monument next to that big glob, that big slab. Okay, that was put there by the guy, obviously after me, because he wanted to see if his stuff was bigger than my stuff. So that's why he.
No, no, possible.
It's impossible. Because mine at night hovers. And lights up and shit. So Zglinicki, he remembers Zglinicki, right? Well, he took it upon himself again to measure his stuff against my stuff, and he put the big granite blob there, which was good because that is honoring a 442nd combat team, regimental combat team. The Nikkei Japanese-American soldiers that came here and kicked big ass and busted through the Gothic line. So this guy earned his Medal of Honor. Actually, the 4-4 Deuce earned 21 Medal of Honors. And the 4-4 Deuce is the most decorated unit in the United States Army, period. Exclamation mark. So that was a good thing. It's just that he had to put the son of a bitch next to mine. So, you know, and then he was thinking about removing mine and putting mine over where the flagpole.
No, no, but your
And
stuff
I
is,
said,
yeah, your
try
stuff
it,
is
buddy.
much bigger.
Try it.
Yeah.
Try it.
Multiple
So that went
ground.
away,
Yeah.
and the monument remained. So next, what happened is who cleans the damn thing? Who looks after it? Who does this? What if somebody dies tomorrow? Well, I took it upon myself after command to kind of follow this thing up. The last person I'd like to note on the monument, and again, you won't see it again probably, but if just by chance if you see it again, was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Tomasini, Tommy Tomasini. I don't know if anybody here, Senor Brown knows. Yes. Mr. Tomasini, I'd like to point him out because he joined the U.S. Army in 1944 after the Anzio beachhead business. And he was like 16 years old at the time, and he was really good mechanically, and the U.S. Army brought him on board. So by bringing him on board, they brought him up to Camp Darby, et cetera, et cetera. Bottom line, he worked for the United States Army for about 70 freaking years, between, you know, active participation in the service and volunteership. And he's the last guy that's on the plaque, hopefully the last I'll ever put on the plaque. But bottom line, we decided to put him on the plaque because of his deeds for the United States Army. Now, going back to people on the plaques, well, there was a determination to denote who was going to be on the plaque and who could not be on the plaque. Well, for the most part, I made that determination.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Somebody had to do it, and I did it. So
There you go.
Perfecto.
the conditions are that you must have served in the Army for at least 20 years. Number one. Secondly, you must have served in some capacity, in a military capacity, here at Camp Darby. Because there were a couple folks that perhaps died in Florence or whatnot. I want to be on the monument. No. You know, when did he serve at Darby? Well, we don't know. Well, you don't know, he ain't going on the monument. One of those types of things. So, those are the conditions for you to have been on the monument. The monument has been there, I believe, since 2005, and it has remained in place ever since. Unfortunately, this year, must have been about 3 months ago, or maybe 4, I discovered that some bonehead ripped off my commander's coin that was center front. You probably, when you looked at the monument, you noticed there was a void in the center.
Yeah.
Well, that used to be my commander's coin, and some jerk ripped it off. So I have a very, very strong feeling it must have been an American that ripped it off, some collector of sorts. Because the Italians really don't give a shit about, you know, commanders. I used to give them out, and I used to look at them, you know, what's this, commanders? So I believe that it was a U.S. guy that actually ripped it off. So Fred and I initially, when was it, in July? No, August, early August. It was hot as balls, and I was sitting here trying to
I have a video on Facebook,
gouge
and
this
do
thing out. It was like 2 million degrees, and then my battery went dead and whatnot. So I told myself, you know, I'm going to do it in other honorable conditions. So it will be placed, my coin will actually be placed exactly where it was.
Good.
And the story behind the coin is interesting too, because I gave that coin to Mr. Tomasini. Mr. Tomasini died. Obviously, his one of his siblings' daughters got the coin and gave it back to me. So now I'm going to get that coin and put it back on the monument.
Perfect.
But in the for the sake of security, knowing some of my chickens out there,
Yeah.
what I want to do is I wanted to gouge out a little bit further inside and place that damn coin a little bit further inside, and then on top of that layer some glass. So the son of a bitch that tries to rip it off next time has to bust through my glass and then bust through and rip off the coin.
Yeah.
Okay? So, are there any questions reference to mine?
No,
Perfecto.
Good article.